Yep, see you.
Okay, there we are. Thank you so much. All right. Nope. Oh my, hold on. We're getting there, folks. Bear with me. First day. Okay. It's so weird not talking to anybody either, so. Okay, so my name is Dawn Michael, and I'm a representative of MOACAC. We certainly want to welcome you to the Virtual College Exploration for all Missouri students, sponsored by the Missouri Association for College Admission Counseling and StriveScan. Thank you so much for joining us. A few housekeeping announcements that you can see there on your screen. You can use the Q&A button on your screen. Oops, did I do that? Did it go away?
It did.
Thank you. There we go. That's not what we want. Nope. Sorry, I got to go back. Oh, I'm so sorry. There we go. I'm going to take up your minutes. Okay, so there we go. You can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. Please make sure that your camera and microphone are off so that the panelists cannot see or hear you. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the full schedule at moacac.org. And this presentation is being recorded and certainly will be available within about a week at that same website, moacac.org. And now I'd like to turn it over to our presenters.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dawn. We're so excited to be here with you tonight. I'm going to share my screen quickly here and we'll get started. My name is Allie Osterhuis. I go by the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'm a freshman admissions counselor at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. Excited to be here with my other Big Ten colleagues. I'll pass it off to John to introduce himself, and we'll go through introductions before getting into our presentation tonight.
Good evening, everybody. I'm John Kundle. I'm the St. Louis Regional Rep for the University of Iowa. Pass it off to Steve.
Hello, my name is Steve Landgraf. I am the manager of Illinois recruitment for Michigan State University, but I also do recruiting in Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas as well. So I work with all of our Missouri students checking out Michigan State. And we'll pass it off to Steve.
The other Steve. I'm Steve Held. I serve as the regional recruitment specialist for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and I have the eastern half of Missouri. I have a colleague that works with the western half. Pleased to be with you all tonight. Thanks for dealing with us.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. So what we're here to discuss tonight is not only the Big Ten, because we all come from universities that are part of the Big Ten Conference, and we'll talk about what that means, but also some great out-of-state options that are very close to the state of Missouri. So if you're looking at some out-of-state options, but you don't want to go too far, perhaps within a day's drive, this is definitely a great place for you to be. And we're really excited to share all of the opportunities that our respective schools have to offer you as a potential student. So like Dawn mentioned at the very beginning, feel free to put any questions in the Q&A chat throughout the entirety of this presentation. We'll be more than happy to answer those as we go along. And then we'll also leave some time at the end for some live Q&A to make sure that we're getting all of your questions answered by the end of this presentation. So let's go into some benefits of the Big Ten and really what we're talking about when we're mentioning this Big Ten conference many times. So first off, the Big Ten is both a conference for athletics and an academic alliance. You can see here on this map, we span 11 different states throughout the Midwest and into the eastern portion of the United States. We are all large research universities. The majority of us are public land-grant universities. There's one private university that's part of the Big Ten as well. Fun fact, the Big Ten Athletic Conference has 14 universities that you see here, but we also have the Academic Alliance, which actually has 15, including the University of Chicago. And this alliance was formed in 1958, so it's been around for quite a while, and it really prides itself on bringing these universities together because they all have so many resources and great opportunities, and really capitalizing on that in terms of collaboration and on different research initiatives. A vast majority a vast collection of library books that can be shared between the different campuses. And also all of these campuses have a great deal of school spirit and that classic, collegiate experience. So we want to talk about what it's like to become a student at one of these universities. And we want to highlight 4 different aspects and talk about how those show up on our different campuses. So we want to talk about research. These are all large research universities. Also teaching, the quality of professors that are at all of these campuses, as well as service, because these are universities that are very well connected to their surrounding communities, and they make a great deal of positive impact in the world around them. And then also the community on campus, within the college town or the community where the campus is situated, but then also, within the student life, what is it like to actually be a student on these campuses? So I'm going to pass it off to John to first talk about what research looks like.
Well, first of all, I think just a little bit of background about research, universities in the United States. And as the graph says, in the United States, we have over 4,300 colleges and universities. And of that number, 430 are what we call doctoral universities. This means that the university is awarding PhD degrees, Doctor of Education degrees, medical degrees, and so forth. There are many kinds of doctoral degrees awarded in the United States. So now, out of that number, only 131 universities have what we call Carnegie Research 1 level status. What does that mean? It means that that's a university that is very involved with research. It's a very active, high-level research. The standard is that a college or a university has to award a minimum of 20 doctor's degrees, and it has to have a minimum of $5 million of expenditures. In the Big Ten, all 14 universities are Research 1 level universities, and they spend millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on research. These colleges, these universities in the Big, we all attract world-class faculty that come from all over the world, all over the United States, and all of us are involved in cutting-edge research on our campuses. Now, why is this important? It's important because in a university setting, there is a constant search for new knowledge. There is a search to review what we already know. And this gets with and passed along to students university if they choose. So research in the Big Ten is one of our keystones in being a successful university. Okay, next slide. All right, so what kinds of research do we have? As the slide shows, we have the typical, what we think of in the laboratory, people tinkering with petri dishes and whatever they do. Scientific research. We have climate research. Business does its own research, marketing strategies, successful business management strategies, and so forth. There's psychology research, where people study brain waves and how this impacts with the various social behaviors of individuals. Believe it or not, there is research in dance and theater. As the slide depicts there, we also have art history. So research in all areas of the university. Okay, next slide, Allie. All right, for example, I want to just pick up a couple of things for each one of us tonight, represented here tonight. For example, students, and tonight I'm going to focus on student research, have the opportunity to do research. University of Nebraska, one of their students was studying the Niobrara River. At Nebraska, another student was studying Lord Greystoke of Tarzan fame, and looking at it from a transcultural and intellectual history point of view. Next slide. At Michigan State, an example of undergraduate research. In their hospitality business program, they developed a marketing strategy for a brand new graduate hotel. They had a student in the graphic arts that won a District 6 Addy Award and qualified for nationals. Next slide. University of Minnesota, students in speech, language, and hearing science. And I'm not going to read the rest of that because I don't know what it means, but very involved student research, theater arts, and University of Iowa, my alma mater and my home university. We had a graduate student just recently receive a Fulbright Award in creative writing. So he's going to go to Japan and study Japanese music and history. We've had a group of undergraduate students also in the physics department studying space, and they actually put together instruments that went out into space to measure magnetic. So many student endeavors across all the universities that students can participate in. Next slide. So at the University of Iowa, we're the 34th best public university in the United States. We're in the top 5% of all the universities in the world. We've been a Best Buy for many years in a row, the #1 college town. That varies from year to year. Some years were 2, but Iowa City, Iowa is ranked as very respected, involved community with the university. We're one of the smallest schools in the Big Ten. We have a total student body of a little over 31,000. Of that number, a little over 22,000 are undergraduates. It's not on this slide, but this past year, we had this fall, we had a little over 4,500 freshmen. 61% of our students are Iowa residents, so obviously that leaves 39% of the student body are non-resident students. Next slide, Allie. Okay, so now is the time to apply. So at the University of Iowa, you can go to the admissions page. You can apply there. You can use the Common App. You can use the Coalition app. But now is the time to apply for admissions. We're test flexible. So what does test flexible mean? It means that if you don't have an ACT score, don't wait. Go ahead and apply. We will admit based on grades. For non-resident students, we're going to ask for a personal statement and ask for a high school transcript if you do not have a score. Rolling admissions all the way to May. We also will do rolling scholarship awards all the way to next May. So don't worry about not having a score. So very nice chatting with you tonight. Go Hawks. Take it away, Allie.
Great. Thank you so much, John. And you really highlighted some important parts of the Big Ten student experience, because research is really embedded in everything we do as, tier 1 research institutions. So I'm glad you went into depth and, what that really looks like on different campuses. Really connected to research also, because many professors at our respective universities are engaged with research, is the teaching aspect. You are not only coming to college to be involved in learning new knowledge, but you also want to be involved in the creation of new knowledge. So professors are both a really great resource for learning the skills and the knowledge that you need to take into your career path beyond graduation from college, but also getting involved in that research. I will say at the University of Minnesota, it is pretty easy to get involved in that research, either with a professor or through what we call our Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, UROP for short. And that's where students submit their own proposal for their own research and are paired with a faculty member to mentor them through the research process. So you are learning not only the, the knowledge base in your field, but also the skills of the trade, how to make a difference in the field that you are specializing in. But I just want to go into a little bit about what faculty members look like on the University of Minnesota Twin Cities campus. And the same can be said generally across the board for all universities in the Big Ten as well. These are faculty members who, yes, are doing research, but they also have a passion for teaching and working with young people who are passionate about the topic that they specialize in. So I will say to you students in the room, wherever you end up going to college, definitely take advantage of office hours, because you will get that personalized attention, that mentorship, and that connection that can really make a difference in your college experience. I personally am a graduate of the University of Minnesota, and I ended up really connecting with one of my professors my sophomore year. We ended up doing independent study, which was one-on-one study for the next 2 semesters. I helped edit his 11th book that published in 2018. And then I went on to create my own student group on campus that was advised by that professor. So you can see how these things can really play out and be very meaningful and impactful in your life as a student. At the University of Minnesota campus specifically, we have about 3,100 faculty members. We are we're one of the larger universities in the Big Ten. We have about 52,000 students overall. 32,000 of those students are undergraduate students. And we do have a 17-to-1 student to faculty ratio. I will be honest, some of your classes during your first 1 to 2 years on campus might involve some large lecture halls, but rest assured there will always be a lab or discussion section that accompanies a large lecture. So you'll have that opportunity to get your questions answered, do some more group work, and really engage with your learning process. In my experience, usually those lab or discussion sections was about 20 to 30 students. And then as you progress into your major, the class sizes get smaller and smaller. My smallest class on the University of Minnesota campus was a Spanish literature course. It had 5 students in it. So very engaged and personal discussions in my classroom experience. So let's talk about generally what academics look like at the University of Minnesota. We have about 150 majors, 135 minors to choose from. And as the flagship university of the state, also our medical school, law school, dentistry, pharmacy, veterinary, and then close to 200 graduate programs overall. So you really can continue in your Golden Gopher experience beyond your 4-year college experience. And you can see in that picture on the top right, we are located in the Twin Cities. And I'll talk briefly about what that means for us to students, but that's really important in the college experience. We're also really intentional. We know we're a big school in really creating that sense of community and making sure that every student not only feels like they are valued and a part of the campus, but also that they are welcomed and very well supported throughout their entire college experience. And that really starts with our separate 8 freshman admitted colleges. So just know that when you're applying to the University of Minnesota, you are never applying as a general student. You are applying directly to the College of Science and Engineering, the College of Biological Sciences, the College of Liberal Arts, whichever one best fits your interest. You are part of a smaller community from day one on the University of Minnesota campus. So that really was nice for me as a student. And I actually graduated from the College of Liberal Arts. Beyond the classroom, no one wants to spend 24/7 in the library during college. That's not what college is about. Yes, you do have academic experiences, but I will say personally, some of the most impactful challenges and key learning moments I had in college were outside of the classroom. One key thing for me was learning abroad. We have one of the largest learning abroad centers in the United States. We have over 250 programs in over 60 countries. 6 continents right now. We used to have a program in Antarctica. We might in the future, but we do have 6 continents available to study abroad in. And that definitely can mean many different things. It's all about what's most important to you. So like for me, I spent a semester abroad in Ecuador. And the first half of my program was academic in nature. And then for the second half, students were able to either do an internship with a nonprofit somewhere in the country, or do their own independent research. So internships, research, job opportunities, those are all part of the learning abroad experience as well. And then on campus, we do have over 900 student groups. Last time I checked, it's about 980. So lots of different opportunities to check out. But we know that you, as students coming from out of state, from Missouri, you want to feel at home in Minnesota. So we do have a program specifically to make sure that you are having a good transition into your college experience. I actually am originally from Wisconsin, so I took part in At Home in Minnesota when I was a freshman. And we went to the Minnesota State Fair, which is really close to campus, and it's actually the second largest in the country behind Texas, their state fair. We went apple picking. We went to a hockey game, we went ice skating, we did all the Minnesota things, had a great time, and I felt much more comfortable being in the new state that I now call home. And then also in terms of housing, we have many living learning communities to bring together students around certain identities, backgrounds, or interests. Really, one on campus that I can give as an example is the Lavender House, which is students who are part of the LGBTQIA community on campus. And then beyond campus, if you look across the Mississippi River, you'll see downtown Minneapolis. Downtown St. Paul is about 25 to 30 minutes in the other direction via light rail. We actually have a light rail, which is much like if you've been to St. Louis, the Metro Link. It connects downtown Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul. It goes straight through a campus. So you can hop on and get to an internship, get to a concert, get to a sporting event, try out a new restaurant. All of these things are really at your fingertips as a University of Minnesota student. This also means a lot in terms of your career. Each of our 8 freshman admitting colleges has its own career and internship services center. So these are career coaches committed to helping you with your resume, with your interviews, getting prepared for the next step. So you're really well supported. And we do have the benefit of 16 Fortune 500 companies in our backyard in the Twin Cities. So literally, downtown Minneapolis, if you look at the skyline, you can see Target headquarters. Out in the suburbs, we've got Medtronic, Best Buy, General Mills, United Health Group. So all of these companies are actively recruiting our graduates. And then in terms of healthcare and nonprofit, as well as the public sector, we are in the state capitol in St. Paul. So you can jump on the light rail and get to the Minnesota State Capitol in just a few minutes. And then we're also about an hour away from the Mayo Clinic, which is headquartered in the state of Minnesota as well. So really for me, one of my key aspects in my decision to attend the University of Minnesota was this phenomenal Twin Cities location. And then talking about admissions, I'll just mention briefly, we have one application. It's available on 2 different platforms, our Common app as well as our own Golden Gopher application on our website. Our complete application has 3 parts to it. That's the application form itself, a self-reported academic record, which is something you'll fill out online instead of sending us your transcript, and then a $55 application fee. A few things that are missing from this list are a test score. We are test optional for fall 2021 applicants because we know there are barriers to accessing test dates this year. Also, that extends to consideration for our honors program and scholarships with test optional. You'll also notice there's no essay required and no letter of recommendation required. We do have a few short answer questions built into our application to kind of draw out what you're passionate about and why you're applying to the University of Minnesota, so you can really express yourself. But just know that those are completely optional. And then you'll see on the bottom right that one application puts you into consideration for 3 different things: freshman admission to one of those 8 colleges, as well as academic scholarships, and then also the university honors program. So for honors and scholarships, there's no separate application. And we do have 2 different application deadlines, our early deadline in November 1st, and then our regular deadline on January 1st. There's equal consideration for all 3 things on both deadlines. So truly the only difference is when you're guaranteed to hear a decision from us. If you apply by November, you'll hear back by January 31st at the latest. And if you apply by January, you'll hear back by March 31st at the latest. And like John mentioned as well, we have our confirmation deadline on May 1st, and that's pretty typical across the board. You'll find that in many Big Ten schools as well. And I'd invite you to also check out the University of Minnesota specific information session that will be happening on Monday, September 28th. So you'll see me again, and I'll go into a lot more detail about the university. So thank you all for learning a little bit about the University of Minnesota. I am going to pass it off to Steve in East Lansing, Michigan.
Thank you very much. I'm actually not in East Lansing, Michigan. I am based in the Chicago area. So I mentioned earlier, I'm the manager of Illinois recruitment for Michigan State University. So I'm actually based right outside of Chicago, but I work with many of our students in Illinois, as well as Missouri, Kansas, and Arkansas. And I am from right outside of St. Louis myself. Spend a lot of time back home visiting family and friends in St. Louis. So even though I can't see or hear any of you on this webinar, it does make me feel just a little bit like I'm back at home. And we definitely thank you for taking time out of your evening to learn about our colleges, especially during a Cardinals game, which I will probably go watch when this session is done myself. Maybe some of you are watching right now. So thank you again for learning about our schools. Maybe you are here because you know you want to go to a big school, or something about big schools has just kind of piqued your interest. Maybe you're drawn to the Big Ten because of athletics or teaching opportunities, majors, anything along those lines. And a lot of the things that you're hearing from us, we could say about all the 14 Big Ten schools. You know, there's certainly a lot that we have in common as Big Ten universities, but there's also a lot of things that make us unique. So definitely continue to learn about the Big Ten schools, especially our schools that are taking time out to chat with you tonight. But yeah, learn about what we have in common and what makes us great options, but also learn about what makes us unique. So we've already talked to you about research opportunities. We've talked to you about great faculty at Big Ten schools, and I'm going to talk briefly about service at Michigan State University. And again, a lot of these things we could say about all our schools. All of us have big campuses and students that are really making an impact in their communities and impact in the world. And that is a huge focus for Big Ten universities across the board. So at Michigan State, we like to talk about Spartans Will. That's a big tagline that we have, Spartans Will. And we definitely encourage our students to give back and make an impact in their communities, both in East Lansing, back in their home communities, and throughout the world. So that is definitely a big focus for us, big focus as a land grant school. I know Allie had mentioned that too, that many of our Big Ten campuses are land grant universities too. So that's certainly a big focus for all of our schools. So I'll just share a few examples about what that looks like at Michigan State. I wish I had stories about all the different schools, but I'll just share a few ways about how that looks at Michigan State University. So service learning is certainly a big thing that you're going to hear about at various schools. We actually have our Center for Community Engaged Learning, which has been around for over 50 years. And that is a big way that our campus community gets connected with service opportunities, both inside and outside the classroom kind of experience. So service learning is a big component that is built in to certain majors, certain academic colleges, like our Residential College in the Arts and Humanities. They have a class where they teach poetry to inmates in prison. It's a restorative justice workshop where they teach prisoners about using poetry to process their experiences. We also have teaching and education classes that volunteer at the Refugee Development Center in the East Lansing area where Michigan State is located too. So certainly you're going to have those service components that are built into your classroom experience. But beyond that, obviously there's student activities and groups that are involved in service. Obviously we think about that a lot with fraternities and sororities, that they do a lot of philanthropy, but we have student groups that are active in trying to advocate for social or environmental change. We had students that worked to eliminate the use of coal as an energy source at Michigan State University. They were very active in lobbying for that. So that's another way to serve our community, is to get involved in that dialogue as well. And beyond that, you're a Spartan for life at Michigan State. And a lot of our schools have great alumni organizations. I know in St. Louis and Kansas City, we have big alumni clubs. We've certainly got a big alumni club up here in Chicago. So we actually have our Spartan Global Day of Service that we do every April. And that is an opportunity for Spartans, both current students and alums, to give back, an annual tradition of trying to serve wherever they are. And I actually got to participate in that a few years ago here in Chicago, that I did the Spartan Global Day of Service here in Chicago and worked with a beach cleanup project. So that's just a few examples of service. And again, we could all share for a while just about this one component. But now I'm going to move on to just telling you just a little bit about Michigan State University specifically in the brief time I have. So growing up in the St. Louis area, I had never been to Michigan. That might be the case for some of you. I definitely did not know where Michigan State University was. I knew about Michigan State, knew about the sports, what a great school it was, but did not know where it was. So we are actually in East Lansing, Lansing, Michigan. It's right outside the state capital of Lansing. If you were to drive from, say, St. Louis, it would take you about 7.5 hours to drive from the St. Louis area to East Lansing, Michigan. Or if you went to Lambert Airport, it'd take you about 90 minutes to fly. So that's just an example. I know that you folks are probably from all around Missouri, but just from St. Louis in particular. So that's where we're located, in East Lansing, Michigan, very suburban area where our campus is. If you could go ahead to the next slide here. This one, next slide, talks about just some of the basics about Michigan State. I'm not going to read through all these stats, but I think a lot of folks are often surprised at how large we are. You know, the Big Ten schools, all larger schools, kind of varying sizes. We're not quite as large as University of Minnesota, but we have about 50,000 total students at Michigan State University and about 40,000 undergraduate students at Michigan State. Our incoming freshman class last year was about 8,500 new students at MSU, and we actually have students from about 140 different countries at Michigan State University and all 50 states in the US. So how that plays out practically, again, a lot of the things that we could say about our schools are going to be somewhat similar. Some of the same comments like Allie made about student-to-faculty ratio and class sizes, you know, similar numbers. We actually have a 16-to-1 student-to-faculty ratio, and 76% of our classes have 50 students or fewer at MSU. And similar that you will have like a lab or recitation for those large lecture classes that you have. In terms of academic colleges, we actually have 17 different degree granting colleges. We have 3 medical schools at MSU. We have our College of Human Medicine, our College of Osteopathic Medicine, and we have the only College of Veterinary Medicine in the state of Michigan. But for undergraduate programs, really well known for our College of Engineering, our Eli Broad College of Business, College of Nursing, College of Education, lots of great programs. And just another thing that makes us unique to some of our peers in the Big Ten, we actually don't have different admissions requirements for different programs. When you apply to Michigan State University, your app is going to be treated the same no matter what you're indicating you want to study. And certain programs like an engineering or business then have a secondary admit component while you're a current student. We also do have 3 residential colleges at Michigan State too. So that's kind of like that living learning community concept you've heard us mention a little bit, except these are actually degree granting colleges. We have Lyman Briggs College, a residential college in arts and humanities, and James Madison College that have that residential piece built into their degree granting academic college. So if you could go to the next slide, I'll be wrapping up here in just a few minutes. So we have about 500,000 living alumni, and I think that speaks to the placement rate that you see there. Great alumni network, great career services department that we have a 95% job placement rate. It's actually about 12% higher than the national average. So great job placement rate. Also love to remind people of our freshman retention rate. If you've never heard that term before, retention rate refers to the percentage of students who come back after freshman year. So that's definitely a higher retention rate as you compare us to other schools as well. You could go ahead to the next slide here. Just want to talk briefly about how to apply to Michigan State University as I wrap up. So we are on 3 different applications. You can apply through the Common App, the Coalition application, or our application. Our early action deadline is November 1st for maximum scholarship consideration. We will continue to award scholarships and admit students after that, but if you want that maximum scholarship consideration, you definitely do want to apply by November 1st. As you're going to hear from a lot of different schools you're checking out, we are test optional for this application cycle. So in order to complete your application, you only need to send us an official transcript along with your application, as well as there is a $75 application fee. And we do require 1 brief essay as well. But those test scores are completely optional. You won't be held at any disadvantage if you don't send us a test score. And we also do not require letters of recommendation either. So you will be considered for scholarships and a spot in our honors college through your regular application. There's no separate app for that. For out-of-state academic scholarships, they range from $5,000 a year to $15,000 a year in terms of awards from the Office of Admissions, and then our honors college gives additional awards too. And one last plug before I turn it over to Steve. I think I've went over on my time. I apologize, but we do give all of our out-of-state students a study abroad scholarship. I know Steve's going to cut me off. All of our out-of-state students get a study abroad scholarship. We go to 60 different countries, all 7 continents. I'm out.
Good evening, everybody. Again, reintroducing myself. My name is Steve Held. I work for the University of Nebraska. We are, if you were watching social media at all yesterday, it was our president, Dr. Ted Carter, that spilled the beans a little bit on the Big Ten going back to playing football. And if you are a Nebraskan, the place has gone pretty much nuts today. So Allie, go ahead and forward one for me, please. We are the University of Nebraska. We are the smallest public university as a member of the Big Ten. We count our undergraduates at about 20,000 total students. City of Lincoln is capital. Even though we're one of the smallest institutions in the Big Ten, it's interesting that we're one of the largest cities that the Big Ten lives in, at about 300,000 folks in the greater Lincoln area. It's been interesting trying to describe what test flexible, test optional is to students this year. You can apply, and you'll also apply for scholarship simultaneously. Test flexible for us means GPA, if you're going to be self-reporting that on the Nebraska application. We also accept the Common App and Coalition as well. The Nebraska application is probably a little less complicated. We do not require an essay as part of the general application for admission, and we don't require a resume. So what I've been talking to students about is really considering the benefit, what is going to benefit you most when you apply. And all of us here this evening have really pride ourselves on our customer service, and we want you to know and have as much information on applying to our universities as possible. For us, being test optional or test flexible means you're submitting information for us up front. It also means for us, we do not have technically an admissions deadline. We will be reviewing applications through at least May 1st of 2021. We'll also be awarding scholarships through at least May 1st. Given the current situation, I wouldn't doubt that we'll go a little bit longer than that, but if you decide on April 2nd that you're going to apply to the University of Nebraska, you'll receive full consideration. As an example that I point out here, at a 3.5 GPA or a 24 ACT, that would be automatically a $13,000 scholarship to attend the University of Nebraska as an out-of-state student. There are slightly higher requirements for greater scholarships, and we have typically a maximum academic scholarship that we award up front of $20,000 per year. One of the greatest benefits, I think, to our application process is we're going to be direct admitting you into a major. Nursing is a little bit different animal, but if you apply to our engineering school or our business school or our journalism school or our College of Arts and Sciences, you're considered for that program right up front. So there is no secondary application necessary, with the exception, again, of our nursing program. Great students apply from Missouri and the Midwest in general, but our admission rate has been really high over the last 3 years, at a little over a couple decimal points over 92% of the students applying being admitted. And last year, on average, our students were awarded about $14,000 in scholarship. It's a no-nonsense application. And I'm saying that frankly, that if you use the Nebraska application, it's very straightforward. We want you to be honest because we're going to allow you to self-report your high school grades. I had a discussion with a student earlier, and it's like, well, what if they don't tell the truth? Well, you do have to send your transcript to us. And we do check that to make sure that that's what you should be, what we're expecting from you. Test scores, if you have them, great. You will not be held out of consideration for any academic program or any honors program. Yeah, go ahead, Allie, it's cool. It's all good. There are actually two of us that split the state of Missouri pretty much in half. From Boone County, straight north and south, heading toward the Mississippi, that's me. I would be your recruitment counselor throughout the process. On the west side of the state, Gabby Williams, who joined us this past summer, is our greater Kansas City and Western Missouri representative. We're both available at these email addresses. I really strongly encourage you, when we talk about the community, and I was supposed to say this first, but I really want to end with this. The people that are on the screen with me and sharing this room, we're very close colleagues. And I think that what you'll find at a Big Ten school is a true sense of community Community meaning you're part of us, you're part of the university. I looked today to do a little research and was making a count. Between just the 4 universities that are here tonight, there are over 3,000 student organizations on campus. And we joke that if you can't find something to do, there's something wrong with you. There's not. But all of these schools also allow you to start your own student organizations from scratch. We are engaged in social and cultural dialogue very seriously, thinking about the world today. Students bring varied backgrounds. Every state in the union is represented at all of our universities. Dozens and dozens of countries from throughout the world are represented at our universities. But what comes down to a core of community is a sense of belonging. And I think that a slightly larger institution can give you and foster a really deep connection to not only the university, but the town in which it's located. The community is very dependent in all of our cases on us as a university economically. We are the major economic drivers in most of our communities. So all of those parts really come to the fore when you think about attending a school that might be out of state, which we all are, and might be a little bit bigger. I mean, we range in size from 20,000 undergraduates to 40,000 plus undergraduates. So finding your fit, understanding where you're going to be is important. But at the end of the day, for all of us, it's pretty neat when you think about a community that seems big, but feels much smaller for almost in all of our cases. All right, last one, Allie, and then I'll be done. Our application for admission, really easy. Admissions.unl.edu apply. We are already admitting students. We are already awarding scholarships, and we have been, wink, wink, said August 1st, but we actually opened up on August 7th or July 7th, just for the heck of it. And we had quite a few students apply. Right now, from the eastern half of the state of Missouri, we already have 62 students admitted for the fall of 2021. All right, I get to wrap up. We've got a few minutes for questions. I see that some questions and answers are out there already. I know that there was a question about summer programs. I guarantee you that every single one of our universities, with the exception of this year, offer some type of summer programs that have academic enrichment in them. So, and then you get to see all of our contact information here at the end. So thank you. Please feel free to type in your questions.
Great, thanks. It looks like we have about 3 minutes left. So definitely we can toss some questions in the Q&A, and also we will be getting the contact information for everyone who came to the session tonight. So feel free to reach out to us. We can follow up with you as well. See all of our contact info like Steve mentioned.
I can go ahead and wrap up if you guys feel like we're ready for that.
Sounds great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate the information. It was very valuable. Thank you so much.
Hey, go Big Ten football, baby. Go Big Ten football. Love it.
All right, to the participants, we certainly want to thank you for joining us tonight. When you close this window, there will be a very quick 4-question survey. We'd certainly appreciate any feedback that you can provide. Also, just remember, again, this is just one session of many that's being hosted, so be sure to sign up for additional sessions at MOACAC.org. And in about a week, again, this session recording, in case you missed anything or want to kind of re-listen to it, will be available as well at the same website, MOACAC.org. We certainly thank you very much for being here. Again, thank you, presenters and panelists, for sharing your information and your time with us. And everybody have a great evening.